Developer Briefing 191, our focus for the remainder of 2023. Well, your focus should be on keeping your player base because, oh my god, it is going downhill really fast. Hell Let Loose is losing players hand over fist, but I will talk about that later. Hello everyone, my name is BurningWiki and welcome to my channel. And before I get started, I'm trying to reach the 3,000 subscriber mark. So if you can, please subscribe. And yes, Developer Briefing 191, Hell Let Loose is an indie title that was given the opportunity to grow thanks to you, a community of passionate players. We are keen to acknowledge that it has not been an easy period for the game and community, with poor communication around recent changes, the premature discontinuation of the PTEs, and what was a less than ideal trailer. Yes, and this is putting it mildly, isn't it? Initially, the 2023 roadmap set out to offer an ambitious plan to increase the content delivery on a linear and predictable timescale, 1 year of the war for each game calendar year, while inviting more like-minded players to the experience Hell Let Loose. However, we've stepped back and thought carefully about the way we introduce these new features, ensuring we are deepening the existing experience as opposed to potentially splitting the player base and diluting it. What they're basically saying is we let go of our plan to go mainstream, right? Because we could all clearly see they wanted to be more of a Battlefield and a more arcade game instead of a realistic shooter, right? And we all want new features in the game. We just don't want to go all out arcade game. We have spent the last several weeks in many discussions revisiting plans and reshaping them with the aim of preserving the core aspects of Hell Let Loose, while also looking to drastically shift the way in which we have been communicating, so that we're able to work with you on new features long before release. We know many of you are excited to see the introduction of new maps and additional forces, and this remains in our plan. However, we know that we must focus our efforts and priorities on addressing your feedback first. So what's changing? Our focus and the delivery of more frequent patches. We don't, more patches is nice, but the game gets boring. We need a lot of more maps. That is the whole problem. You lost about 2,000 players in the last 40 days. That is because everybody was looking forward to the British faction, but when it turned out that was garbage or mediocre, let's put it that way, it was a mediocre patch or update, I should say update. It was mediocre and people expected a lot more, and to introduce 2 new maps for each faction you're gonna introduce is not gonna cut it. People are getting bored of the same old maps, right? There are a few fan favorite maps, and a lot of these maps are not really good. People like or dislike certain maps, that is taste, but you need a lot of variation if you want to keep the player base interested in Hell Let Loose. In doing so, our efforts to deliver the original 2023 roadmap will instead change focus to a slower speed of content delivery. Yeah, because I think they wanted to introduce the Polish faction and the Finnish faction in the style they did the British faction, which is bare bones, and they now discovered it's unacceptable to do that, right? The player base is not gonna accept 2 more factions that are just bare bones, right? That has no uniforms, no, nice new things added to the game. So, now they're taking their time, but is it too late? Is it too late? Because again, they are losing a lot of players. Bringing you more 100-player warfare on offensive maps. There we go, that's what we need. Alongside existing planned cosmetic DLC, as we continue to work on resolving as many bugs as possible and begin the planning for a longer-term future of Hell Let Loose alongside the community. With the shift in focus, we will now be working towards delivering more patches rather than major content updates, beginning with patch 14.2 and 14.3. Player locomotion speed and dive to prone, patch 14.2. Starting with an open PTE, we will be looking for your feedback as we begin the process of removing the running and sprinting speed increase, including the acceleration speeds as well as the dive to prone functionality. So now they're gonna remove that. They just gave up. They just gave up on that because it's not good. Somebody in the office had a nice idea and, you know, it looked good on paper, but in reality, when you play the game, this dive to prone is horrible because sometimes I end up in the rock or in the blueprint that I'm making as an engineer and I want to dive to the ground, but it shoves me right into the middle of the blueprint, making it turn red, so I can't make it. Then I need to crawl out of it. It is so clumsy. It really is really clumsy. So they're now gonna get rid of the increased movement speed, the acceleration speed, and the dive to prone functionality. And you say functionality, but it is not functional, isn't it? We are aiming for the PTE to take place on the 20th of July to test the removal of these recent changes and assess any potential broader impact. We are aiming for the PTE to take place on the 20th of July to test the removal of these recent changes and assess any potential broader impact before the adjustments can be confirmed for patch 14.2, a patch that will introduce this adjustment to be released once a successful PT has been carried out. We understand that there are members of the Hell Let Loose community who will be disappointed with the decision to remove the increased speeds. However, recent fixes intended to reduce the impact of these changes haven't been as successful as we hoped. This led to further investigation to be carried out to understand the deeper components of the Hell Let Loose, including vehicles and how these currently affect our ability to make balancing tweaks without impacting the wider game. I don't understand. They're talking about balancing tweaks in speed, but I thought the tanks, the trucks and the movement speed of the soldiers were always in good balance. They were always nicely balanced, right? Why try to fix something that is not broken? Really? Honestly? You know what I mean? The Bracour map with our roadmap adjusted, the new objective game mode will be moved back in the current timeline. And that current, they're talking about the 50 player, 25 versus 25 player mode, I guess, right? While we recognize the excitement around the option for a shorter game mode, we are taking some time to look at how this can be implemented so that we can continue to focus on delivering more fixes, as well as better understand how we release this game mode in the future, and will communicate clearly when we're confident to move that way forward. We will be organizing PTEs for players to test the new mode and provide much appreciated feedback before it returns to our release scheduled in the future. What does this have to do with the Bracour map? All right, what does that have to do with that map? I don't understand, but let me continue. The British forces. We know that many of you, after years of being promised, have felt the initial introduction of the British forces to be underwhelming. Yeah, that's the understatement of the year. We want to build upon these forces and are committed to reworking and expanding them, including introducing more historical accurate weapons and uniforms, such as desert uniforms for both the British and the German forces. Yes, I talked about this in an earlier video about it, right? The English shorts, you know, and the khaki helmets, as well as making updates to the existing loadouts. However, the limitations and inadvertent impact that tweaking certain features or firearms like the brand gun would cause is something we need to address on a wider scale, reworking and rebalancing some items from the ground up. While we don't have a full-time timeline for this work right now, we are aiming to further tackle weapon sway, bolt handling animations and weapon fire rate, as well as ensuring all British firearms are correctly zeroed for patch 14.3. A PTE will be held in advance of patch 14.3 that will allow you to submit feedback that we can action prior to release. What else will arrive in patch 14.3? Basic training environment. One of the key mantras in our aim to introduce new players to Hell Let Loose is to use a variety of methods to help them learn the fundamentals of the game, not to change the fundamentals of the game to suit the new player. Taking inspiration from Churchill's War Room, this new scene accessible from the main menu is one of the first steps in our aim to provide a smoother onboarding experience. It will give players the opportunity to explore a reworked field manual as well as tune into basic video tutorials to help get to grips with some of the gameplay's complexities before accessing the practice range. And we can here see a nice screenshot of that, the practice range. We know that the community has long asked for a practice range, and the first iteration will arrive in patch 14.3. To begin with, the practice range will offer a basic solo experience on the US forces and introduce a new environment for the players to test out weapons and vehicles without needing to be in a live game. Many of you know that each update can radically shift aspects of the game, and we will be updating the practice range to reflect this, while also introducing other forces as we continue development. And we can here see an animation of that. Compete with a range of targets including scarecrows, sandbags, bullseye targets and barrels. We'll be dedicating a future developer briefing to diving deeper into the practice range, but for now here's a sneak peek. You know, it's just a shooting range and an obstacle course, right? It's your basic thing that, you know, should already be in the game long ago, right? In-game store, we fully understand that you trust us is rightfully not where it should be. Their in-game store was developed as part of the effort to round out the DLC aspects of the game and make it more accessible experience to purchase DLC on all platforms. The in-game store was supposed to sit along a large amount of content that is now undergoing changes as part of the reprioritization. We have had several internal discussions about whether we can pull this out of the release canvas and have come up with the conclusion that it will cause the rolling production issue and potentially delay further changes. Due to this is set up necessity us to release it. However, we want to offer some additional information to clarify any concerns the community has. So we're now gonna get a pay in-game store. Great. That's just what everybody wanted, right? That's what we all wanted, an in-game store to spend more money. The store will never offer any pay-to-win items. Great. Offer non-historical cosmetics that break immersion. Pink camouflage. We also want to assure the community that no resource has been diverted from bug fixing for implementation of this feature. Yes, it has. You simply making the store was diverting manpower from other stuff that they could be doing. I know you need to make money, right? And you know, in-game store, I guess it's fine, right? As long as it's cosmetic, historical accurate, like they say, and no pay-to-win items. As long as it's cosmetic, I'm fine with it. I really am. In the end, it's a business and they need to make money. Bug fixing. With the moving back of the Breako map and objective game mode, patch 14.3 will predominantly focus on bug fixing, aiming to tackle a range of bugs and issues including in-game stutter, Panther reload speed, Sherman Firefly frontal damage, British gun sights, British weapon sway, British weapon rate of fire, British weapon bolt animations, correctly zeroed British weapons, doubled explosion VFX, ultra widescreen support, servers missing from server browser, and Xbox missing weapon audio. What makes some of the issues so difficult to tackle? When we are able to reproduce a bug, we can apply that knowledge to submit a fix. However, some bugs are seemingly isolated to live builds. According only once an update has been released. We are looking to approach testing differently with the aim to reduce instances of certain bugs occurring. While there is a chance that some of these bugs may continue to evade us, we hope that renewed efforts across future updates will see more success. We are planning to use PTEs with a new build process alongside additional logging to hunt down some of these more elusive issues, including the loadout bug. Console server browsing. While we plan to bring further parity between platforms, this is going to take time. Hell Let Loose, as it currently exists on the console, does not have the necessary foundations to support server browsing. When the original conversion of Hell Let Loose to console was done, it was set up with the intention of supporting crossplay between console platforms only. As a result of this decision, an entirely separate set of infrastructure was created to support online playing in a way that would meet console platform holder requirements. The servers for both platforms are completely different and use different providers. The code that powers the game is not the same as the code responsible for logging into the servers and platform services or sending invites and friends requests. We fully recognize the lift in experience that being able to select a familiar server brings to Hell Let Loose, and will continue to investigate other methods of preference selection that can support matchmaking on console in the meantime. And now we're gonna get new maps and DLC in 2023. While bug fixing is going to be our primary focus for the remainder of 2023, we are looking to also release desert uniforms for the British and German forces, while continuing to deliver 100-player maps, as well as DLC. To ensure these can remain our focus, we plan to revisit some aspects, such as the base winter uniforms, and address feedback around them next year. Summer Warfare DLC. The Summer Warfare DLC will be back in store tomorrow on the 13th of July and will be available for free for both console and PC players for a limited time period. And here we can see a nice screenshot of that. Night map variants of Saint Marie du Monde. A night map variant of Saint Marie du Monde that has previously been worked on will be coming in the future release after patch 14.3. Will this bring players back to the game? Only time can tell. What do you guys think about all these changes coming to Hell Let Loose? Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on future videos. My name is BurningWiki, and I will see you all next time.